Welcome back to the Path of Longevity show, and I'm your host, Dr. Robert Lufkin, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Stephen Sideroff.
Before we begin, I want to take a moment to tell you about some new free online masterclasses that Steve and I are offering. For example, we know that inflammation drives all chronic diseases and aging. That's why it's called inflammaging. But we're now learning that this inflammaging can be reversed. And one of our masterclasses will spell out the top 4 ways to reverse it. If you're interested, see the link in the show notes. And now, back to this week's episode. In this week's episode, we'd like to preview an upcoming free online summit that Steve and I have been working on for a while. It's entitled the Reverse Inflammaging Summit, Body and Mind Longevity Medicine. And in it, we interview 50 of the world's leading experts on longevity. And given that the attendance projections are anywhere from 50 to 100,000 registrants, we're on track to becoming what is arguably the world's largest longevity conference if we hit those numbers. So please sign up, and the links will be in the show notes, and see how it is. But for now, here is a preview of what's in store, so please enjoy. Let's face it, we're all terrified of aging, and most of us will do anything to live to 100 and beyond. How can that be? The truth is, it's not the fact of aging that scares us, but the many ailments that often come with aging. We're afraid of pain and chronic disease, of immobility and cognitive decline, of memory loss and slowing motor functions. We really want to live to 100 and beyond without the effects of aging. We want to be the people we read about in magazines, like the 105-year-old who still practices yoga every day. We want to live as long as possible without sacrificing our health. In other words, it's about health span, not lifespan. Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Lufkin. I'm a practicing physician, a medical school professor, and an expert in the applied science of longevity. My co-host is Dr. Stephen Sideroff. He is a psychologist, also a medical school professor, and an expert in resilience, optimal performance, addiction, neurofeedback, and mental health. And together, we're hosting the Reverse Inflammaging Summit, happening online from April 25th to May 2nd, 2023. This week-long summit will bring together more than 40 doctors, functional medicine experts, scientists, researchers, chronic disease experts, and more to teach you how to live a long, healthy, disease-free life by healing the mind-body connection and addressing the primary driver of aging and disease, which is inflammation. We'll discuss the incredible importance of psychological resilience in fighting inflammaging, and why healing from trauma and actively managing stress are 2 of the most significant things you can do for your long-term health. Finally, we'll dig into longevity medicine on a cellular level, teaching you how to stimulate the formation of stem cells and how to boost brain and body health at every age. We approach longevity from a lens of mind-body connection because it's at the intersection of mental resilience and physical health that you can truly discover lifelong health. So drop your name and email on this page to get your free ticket, and I'll see you at the summit.
Welcome to the first episode of our summit. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Sideroff, and I'm joined by my partner, Dr. Rob Lufkin. Rob?
Hey, Steve, it's great to be here. I'm so excited about this summit and the great interviews we're going to be hearing.
Yes, me too, Rob. And let me begin by explaining to everybody how this came about. Rob and I have been really marveling at how the field of longevity has been exponentially expanding. And the importance for individuals is huge. The idea that we can not only live our lives longer, but increase what we refer to as health span. And that means living healthy up until the very end. It's also a very important field for society as well, because every year that we can add to our lives really saves huge amounts of capital for our society in terms of medical costs. So this is a very important field. But as we talked about this, we realized that there was a big piece that was missing, and that's the interface between the mind and the body. There's been some discussion about lifestyle, but that's really been limited pretty much to sleep, exercise, and diet, and then some conversations about stress management. We want to get more deeply into this notion of how physical symptoms, physical condition actually affects cognitive, emotional, mental health. And then on the other side, how mental health, psychological factors really play a huge part in physical symptoms. And so that's why we came upon the notion of joining mind and body. Rob?
Thanks, Steve. That's a very important point. Another factor of great importance that we know is that in this new area of longevity, it's basically the Wild West, where information is being expressed and sold as if it's already been fully tested and fact, but it hasn't been, and much of it is not. What is verified and what is simply believed to be true? What is fact and what is fiction? What is presented by reliable and trustworthy sources and what is just not accurate at all? And here too, we felt that while we want the public to benefit from the new research and findings, we also wanted to make sure that a distinction is drawn between theory, belief, and the real thing, and most importantly, what's safe. That's why Steve and I decided to create the Reverse Inflammaging Summit, Body and Mind Longevity Medicine. We wanted to bring attention to how the mind and body interact to create either resilience or faster aging. What is the actual mechanism by which thinking and emotions impact the aging process, and how we can use this information to have the body function better and slow aging and increase what we are referring to as health span, that is, staying as healthy as long as possible.
With this mission in mind, we identified some of the world leaders in the fields of medicine, psychology, and the interface of the two. And we have 50 of the world leaders in every one of these areas. Every interview that you're going to listen to and view is chock full of important information about how the aging process works. But not only that, you're also going to get very important, helpful tips on what you can do immediately to begin slowing the aging process and engage in healing and other helpful ways of feeling better in your lives. Because there's so much information in each of these talks, we're very happy that we will be able to offer you ways in which you can get these lectures, these interviews for your permanent library.
There have been different perspectives proposed as to why we age, and our summit will look into all of them, including what some refer to as the hallmarks of aging. But what do all these experts that we're going to hear from have in common is their recognition of the importance of inflammaging as a central mechanism. This is core, that inflammation drives aging, and that's why we call it inflammaging. And that's why our summit highlights factors that influence inflammation and how this affects aging, as well as factors that can slow down or even reverse inflammaging. And that's why it's even in our title, Reverse Inflammaging Summit.
The idea of the mind affecting the body for many years was a controversial subject. When a person had a diagnosis and the physician could not find a functional not a functional, but an organic cause of the problem, they might say it's all in your head. And this became a derogatory term. But we now know of the actual mechanisms by which the mind affects the body, the way we think, how our appraisal of situations impact how much stress we experience in our lives. The more stress we experience in our lives, in fact, the more we have what we refer to as the dysregulation of physiological functions, in particular of the autonomic nervous system. How thinking, mind, and emotions increase stress, increase emotional reactivity, the stress response, and thus various physical symptoms that are the result of this. In our talks, we are going to get into how the mind affects the body, as well as ways that physical symptoms actually impair cognitive functioning. Here we will get to speak to some of world leaders in this subject. Bruce Lipton, who will be talking about his biology of belief. Joe Dispenza, who will be talking about the power of the mind through meditation and other practices, breathing and biofeedback, to actually enhance the healing process. And Stephen Porges, who will talk about his polyvagal theory and about the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system. Not only are we dealing with these epidemics in metabolic dysregulation, but we are also dealing with an epidemic in our stress and the stress we deal with in life today. No one is immune to this really increase in stress that we're all experiencing in our lives due to the complexities of life, due to the current events. You know, the world has gotten smaller and we are affected by things happening around the world. And it's not just some people. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter your race. And in fact, it doesn't even matter how much wealth you have. We are all under the barrage of the stresses in our lives that are continually throwing our systems out of balance and thus increasing inflammation and inflammaging in our lives. It's very important to understand how resilience and the ability to self-regulate, as well as many of the other techniques that you will be learning during these 7 days, will positively impact your health and your longevity. You want to know how the body can be most effective, the power of finding safety in your life, the power of being able to self-regulate, and to find love and acceptance, all of which support healthy function.
This is a constantly unfolding area that Steve and I are following very diligently. Please join us on this exciting journey as we critically examine new findings and what's working, what's safe, and what to avoid. Here, we will ask the world leaders in the field for their perspectives on aging and longevity. Step by step, you will have a front row seat to our own thought process and how we make these determinations, as well as a front row seat and learn from the world-renowned experts that share their valuable information with us. The result will be the best information for you to make good decisions. Now, that's an awful lot of information being presented during these 7 full days. Each of our speakers is a thought leader, people such as Mark Hyman, Peter Diamandis, Bruce Lipton, and Joe Dispenza. We are glad we are able to offer the full array of interviews after the summit for your personal collection.
Also, as you listen to this information and to begin to think about how to implement this into your personal program, you will quickly realize that there are many decisions to be made. We're presenting this information to you over these 7 days, but once the program is over, it's up to you how to begin implementing these ideas into your life. It'll require the development of new and healthy thinking and behaviors, as well as letting go of old habit patterns. Rob and I realized that to support your efforts and increase the likelihood of your success, we needed to provide a supportive follow-up program. Otherwise, it's very easy to get very busy in your lives and lose the focus of the program and the things that need to be done. For this reason, to support follow-through, we will share with you various options for participating on the path of longevity to ensure your success. But for now, congratulations on choosing to participate in this invaluable program and summit.
This is for general information and educational purposes only, and it's not intended to constitute or substitute for medical advice or counseling, the practice of medicine, or the provision of healthcare, or diagnosis, or treatment, or the creation of a physician-patient or clinical relationship. The use of this information is at their own user's risk. If you find this to be on the value, please hit that like button to subscribe to support the work that we do on this channel. And we take your suggestions and advice very seriously, so please let us know what you'd like to see on this channel. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.